Tonight on SUTV News, a recap of the Republican National Convention, and SHIP takes the measures to eradicate the coronavirus. All that and more right here on SUTV News. Thank you for joining us on tonight's episode of SUTV News. I'm Bailey Cassada. As students and staff returned to SHIP's campus, they were welcomed back with many new safety precautions that are in place to reduce the spread of the coronavirus. SUTV's Alexandra Smith has more.
As everyone returned for the fall 2020 semester, it was clear this was not going to be a normal semester. With an increase to overall sanitation throughout campus, there were many new safety measures put in place. Hand washing stations have been placed outside in various locations to allow easy access for students and staff to sanitize their hands. Buildings now have designated entrances and exits to keep foot traffic moving in one direction. As students and staff enter many buildings, they will see screenings with temperature checks to ensure no one is going into a building with a high temperature, and everyone on campus is required to wear a mask at all times. But the biggest change of all has been the move to blended in-person and online classes through Zoom. This has been achieved through the use of an OWL camera. Students who choose to attend in-person classes will see that desks have been spread at least 6 feet apart and plexiglass has been used to separate them from their professors. Christopher Clark, director of COVID Return to Campus Committee, stated, quote, "Each initiative has a part to play, from the social distancing initiatives in the classrooms to the presence of plexiglass and OWL technology," end quote. Christopher Clark later stated students and staff need to, quote, "put the mask on and keep it on. Do it for each other and do it so we make the most of the fall 2020 semester," end quote. For updates on the ongoing process of COVID on campus, go to www.ship.edu/coronavirus. For SUTV News, I'm Alexandra Smith.
As of today, there have only been 3 confirmed cases of COVID-19 reported to the university. Just like SHIP, classes are on their way to getting started for thousands of universities across the country. However, some did not last long due to the coronavirus. Universities are closing their doors just weeks after reopening for the fall semester. The University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill became one of the first colleges to close again after just 1 week. Notre Dame moved to online classes for 2 weeks due to the spike of over 100 confirmed cases of COVID-19. The University of Alabama recorded over 530 positive tests after only 1 week of class, but has yet to move to online classes. The New York Times reported that there have been at least 26,000 cases and 64 deaths at more than 1,500 schools. Make sure you tune into SUTV every week for up-to-date information on how Shippensburg and other colleges are affected by the COVID-19 virus. SHIP students received an email Tuesday evening in regards to fall 2020 commencement. The official decision by the university was that all students who are set to graduate in the fall will still do so. However, their commencement date will be delayed until the spring. This decision was made due to the inability to hold such a large ceremony given COVID-19 mitigation protocols and harsh December weather. All students who have met graduation protocol will still receive their degrees despite not having a graduation ceremony. The shooting of Jacob Blake has once again sparked protests around the country as we continue to learn the details that led up to the shooting. SUTV's Jacob Hitz has more.
After another night of peaceful protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin, it appeared that peaceful protests were the theme of the night. On Tuesday night, violence broke out, leading to a 17-year-old firing at protesters with an AR-15. By dawn, 2 people were killed and another was injured. We now know the identity of the police officer who fired the shots at Jacob Blake, Rustin Shesky. Shesky worked with the department for 7 years, and 2 officers that were involved in the incident, including Shesky, are currently suspended. Body cameras were not worn by the officers because the department has none. The protests have made their way to the professional sports world. On Wednesday night, the Milwaukee Bucks decided to skip Game 5 of their playoff series with the Orlando Magic, prompting the NBA to postpone the remaining games across the league for the night. Here is part of the team's statement being read to the press.
The team statement, the past 4 months have shed a light on the ongoing racial injustices facing our African American community. Citizens around the country have used their voices and platforms to speak out against these wrongdoings. Over the last few days in our home state of Wisconsin, we've seen the horrendous video of Jacob Blake being shot in the back 7 times by a police officer in Kenosha, and the additional shooting of protesters. Despite the overwhelming plea for change, there has been no action, so our focus today cannot be on basketball.
The NBA announced Thursday that the playoffs would continue, however, no games would be played on Thursday night. The NBA wasn't the only league to see postponements, as the MLB, MLS, and WNBA all had some games postponed, as well as some NFL teams choosing to cancel practice, including the Detroit Lions, among others. President Trump commented on the NBA's protest during a press conference on Thursday afternoon. Here's what he had to say.
I don't know much about the NBA protest. I know their ratings have been very bad because I think people are a little tired of the NBA. Frankly, but I don't know too much about the protest. But I know their ratings have been very bad, and that's unfortunate. They've become like a political organization, and that's not a good thing.
Meanwhile, former President Obama took to Twitter to commend teams for, quote, standing up for what they believe in, end quote. For SUTV News, I'm Jacob Hitz.
While planned before the shooting of Jacob Blake, an event is being held at the roller rink on campus at 7:30 tonight. The event being titled A Call to Action, a Rally for Solidarity. The Republican National Convention was held this week, and it came with lots of surprising speakers. SUTV's Adam Beam has the recap.
As November draws closer and closer, the 2020 election season only continues to heat up, as this week marks the annual Republican National Convention, and already night one was filled with surprises, most notably being the appearance of President Trump himself, who was formally nominated by the Republican Party Monday night. That night also saw speeches from the likes of South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, Donald Trump Jr., and girlfriend Kimberly Guilfoyle, who used their speeches to target the economy as well as the Democratic Party, referring to them as socialists. Senator Tim Scott going as far as saying that Biden would turn our country into a socialist utopia.
Make no mistake, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want a cultural revolution, a fundamentally different America. If we let them, they will turn our country into a socialist utopia. And history has taught us that path only leads to pain and misery, especially for hardworking people hoping to rise.
However, the most surprising guests of the night were Mark and Patricia McCloskey, who little over a month ago fell under heavy scrutiny for pointing guns at Black Lives Matter protesters outside their St. Louis home, alleging they were protecting their property. Tuesday continued with more appearances from President Trump, mainly pre-recorded events held at the White House, like the pardoning of John Ponder, who is the founder of Hope for Prisoners, just hours before he was set to make an appearance at the convention. Another surprising individual being young Nick Sandman, who, as he put it, was canceled after a video of him confronting Native American activist Nathan Phillips was released online just over a year ago. Tuesday also included speeches from the Trump family, Tiffany and Eric Trump, each of them touching on similar themes of media bias and censorship. But it was First Lady Melania Trump who stood out with her speech directed at those who have been affected by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the police brutality and racial injustices in our country, this coming just days after the officer-involved shooting of Jacob Blake at the hands of Wisconsin police.
Our diverse and storied history is what makes our country strong, and yet we still have so much to learn from one another. With that in mind, I like to call on the citizens of this country to take a moment, pause, and look at things from all perspectives. I urge people to come together in a civil manner so we can work and live up to our standard American ideals.
As Wednesday night began, Mike Pence formally accepted his nomination for vice president and took his time to praise President Trump and take shots at nominee Joe Biden.
But as President Trump said, where Joe Biden sees American darkness, we see American greatness.
We also saw speeches from White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany and Senior Advisor Kellyanne Conway, each using their speeches to praise Trump's character, with McEnany telling how supportive the president was following her double mastectomy. As of right now, one more night remains at the Republican National Convention. We are expecting speeches from the likes of Mitch McConnell, Ben Carson, Rudy Giuliani, and Ivanka Trump, as well as President Trump himself. And it will be quite interesting how these 4 nights affect the results of the election moving forward in the next few months. From SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.
The November 3rd presidential election is just 68 days away, and it appears that this will be an election for the history books. SUTV's Nolan Huffman gives us an update on the historic election.
If the 2020 election were held today, Joe Biden would win the election with 298 electoral votes and Donald Trump coming in with just 119 electoral votes, according to the Financial Times. With less than 3 months ago before the U.S. presidential election, Biden is polling basically at a significant advantage compared to the president of the United States, Donald Trump. In Wisconsin, where Mr. Trump won by a pretty thin margin, Biden leads him by 7 points. In the state of Florida, where COVID-19 cases, of course, remain significantly high, Donald Trump is losing by 6 percentage points. Biden also has a pretty decent lead in the state of Arizona, which only one Democratic presidential candidate has won in the last 70 years. In the state of North Carolina has went 9 out of 10 times. Biden also leads Donald Trump. In Texas, the difference in poll numbers is pretty low. It's less than 5 percentage points, and national polls also show Joe Biden at a significant advantage as November looms. White seniors in particular that helped propel Donald Trump to the presidency in 2016 have shown signs of disapproval towards the president's handling of the pandemic. And as the Democratic National Convention already being held, and of course the RNC still going on, both parties are continuing, of course, looking for advantages as the election fastly approaches, especially the Republicans, as Donald Trump and company look to tighten the margin of the election as it fastly approaches. With SUTV, I'm Nolan Huffman.
Hurricane Laura is the first major hurricane to make landfall here in the U.S. this hurricane season, making landfall overnight in Louisiana. SUTV's Jacob Hitz has more.
The strongest hurricane to make landfall in Louisiana history, Hurricane Laura, did not pull any punches before making landfall overnight Wednesday. Making landfall as a Category 4 hurricane with winds as high as 150 miles an hour, Hurricane Laura reached land as a stronger storm than Hurricane Katrina, which devastated Louisiana back in 2005. Katrina reached a Category 5 level while in the Gulf. However, the storm made landfall at a Category 3. Many trees and power lines were brought down from the force of the winds. Here's part of a casino in Louisiana with the siding ripped apart. Here's a camper resting on its side in a parking lot. Homes in Texas surrounded by water, with the roads flooded and vehicles abandoned. Governor Tom Bell Edwards commented on the storm during a press conference on Wednesday.
I will tell you that the damage is extensive. We know that the wind speed was as promised in the forecast. It hit as a Category 4 to 150 mile an hour winds. Right now, we believe we got a break on the storm surge. It appears to have been about half of what was forecasted, but I will tell you, we still have a southerly flow and water is still coming into Cameron and Vermilion parishes. And so we're not out of the woods there yet either.
In the wake of the storm, a chemical fire erupted at a chemical plant in Lake Charles, Louisiana, one of the hardest hit areas of the state. The governor told nearby areas to stay inside. It is unknown on whether the fire was caused by the storm. For SUTV News, I'm Jacob Hitz.
Casualties from this storm are still relatively unknown. Only one death has been reported due to the storm so far. In California, wildfires continue to rage and burn through over 1 million acres of land. Fire officials say that they have managed to separate the fire into smaller portions so it is easier to manage and control. Most of it, the blazes were lit due to the dry lightning striking around the San Francisco Bay Area. A spokesman of the California Department of Fire and Protection said that there was nearly 11,000 lightning strikes within the past 3-day span. All the constant wildfires in the area produced a difficult-to-breathe atmosphere, and along with the coronavirus pandemic, it makes California residents even more susceptible to respiratory infection. And finally, tonight, a story that's sure to put a smile on your face. Meet Paddington, a cute kitten with a strong will to survive. A family found him under their shed and brought him to the Charlottesville Albemarle SPCA. The 4-month-old is only able to use his front legs. So a vet assistant at the clinic made him a wheelchair to help him live his best life. And we are told Paddington is doing just that. Despite his condition, the feline is a ball of energy. The clinic is looking for someone to adopt him, but warns future parents to get ready to be smothered with loads of affection. That will be it for this episode of SUTV News. Make sure to follow us on social media for all the latest in breaking news. And don't forget to check out our website at sutvnews.org. Have a safe and fun weekend, everyone.